Welcome to the local hotel here in the garage, which is full of history, and we're going to hear about some right here. And every Thursday night, or most of them, I have local heroes with beloved guests. This would be one with Bob Gordon, that would be me. I've been a music journalist for almost a lifetime, if you were 34. And it is my privilege and pleasure, and I guess it's yours as well, for our beloved guest tonight to be none other than Alan Dawson. Did you say who? Do you look at like the Perth Now comment threads when someone says that someone's passed away or they're going through a hard time, they used to be on television or have a singing career, and write, who? Says it at the top of the article, but you know damn well who Al Dawson is, and there'll be a future version of you that will be called AI Dawson. That's it. We'll talk about that later. But you have a lot of history with this venue and this room.
This room, yes. My history, which flashed back to me when I got here tonight because I was bringing equipment in. I used to actually run the sound and lighting in this room when it was a happening band venue in the 90s. So that was one of the things, and there were some fascinating bands came through here in the 90s.
Quite a lot of metal came through in the 90s, didn't it?
Which one?
Quite a lot of metal bands came through.
Oh, we had them
90s,
too, yeah, they were interesting nights. Metal bands. That was usually the nights the toilets got demolished and graffiti turned up. But we had a lot.
It's funny because it's Thursday nights now.
But bands that spring to mind, of course, were Cinema Prague, Circus Murders, Freud's Pillow, which became Eskimo Joe. Yeah, there was heaps. There was so many. I said to someone at one point, I was doing the PA here 4 nights a week, and I was running the studio full time, and I was working with 15 bands a week. So it all merged together into a whole melting pot of musos and bands. And when I met any of them, I used to have to say, which band were you? Because I couldn't remember. But they were great nights. So of course, I came in here with Billboards in Space, because they got a Friday residency, so every Friday we'd bring the PA and lights in here, in stage. And eventually the pub said, how much would it cost to just leave it here for every night? Because, it was an 8-hour day moving the PA in and taking it away at the end. So that's when it stayed, and Billboards in Space went on for quite a few years, and then the Friday nights curfew took over, reggae.
Okay.
Yeah, curfew, they did quite a few nights. We had Sundiata doing Sundays. I don't know if anyone remembers them.
They had a marimba band.
They had a marimba band. That was quite a challenge. And, yes.
So many challenges.
Have you got a dodgy stand there?
No, including this mic. No, it's okay.
And
also, I'm aware that you came to the meeting or meetings that led to the formation foundation of what was 100 FM, it's aka Radio Fremantle in here.
This room.
In this room in 1986.
Yeah, there was a committee meeting earlier, which I didn't know about, but I saw an ad virtually the following week saying, are there any people interested in starting community radio? And the meeting was in this room. So we all got together in this room and said, yes, we need a community radio station. And the seed was sown, I think that was around 1985.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was quite a few years before it started. It took a couple of years to get a license. It was quite a whole routine of test broadcasts and
So you've been broadcasting that since 1987, I believe.
Yes. And my show that I do every Monday actually started in 1987. So I've been there ever since it started. So. And it only plays local West Australian music.
And stickability. You can learn something, kids.
Yeah, they think 3 months is a long time. You notice that? 3 months has gone and everything changes.
Yeah. And so many bands you played in. I knew you played a lot of bands, but you sent me a bit of a
Yeah,
timeline.
I left my list in the car to help me out. Well, actually, there's some people here from my first band. The first band I was in was a band called Strobe. That was the first, I think I thought of that name, and it was maybe not one of the better names. But got Nick and Mario at the back of the room there. They played in that band.
It says something that when bands break up, people often don't talk anymore. This is your first band from 1975, and here they are, here you are.
Yeah. I don't want to jump ahead. I was going to say.
We're going to go through this.
We're going to go through. Okay.
This sort of history, and that's what we're here.
That's
for.
the problem when you interview an interviewer.
Well, that's right. I mean, I have been meaning to say, if I could get a word in. No, I haven't meaning to say that it's going to be very easy tonight, because it's not quite 30-something years, but I've done in this venue since this is the 81st edition of this thing. It's not quite, I've done other things as well, but, there is a thing about doing it weekly and stickability and everything like that. But sometimes people the idea of being interviewed, they're not entirely uncomfortable with, and also in front of a live audience as well. But when you're an interviewer, you know what's needed. You're not going to leave me hanging.
No. And you'll get answers.
I'll get answers.
It's happened to me on the radio. I've had some people come in and you can't get them to speak. You say, tell us a little bit about your band. Oh yeah, it's a metal band. And that's the answer. And you go, we get a bit more information. Yeah, Johnny writes the lyrics, and then he comes in and we put the chords to the songs. We had to draw a lot more out of people from that sentence in the past. But no, this will be easy and a pleasure. So, apart from answers to questions, what will we be hearing tonight? Because you seem to have a bit of equipment. Well, being a bass player, it could either be something from Spinal Tap, the bass concerto, all night, or I could bring some guests. So I've brought a few guests along tonight. I've brought some members from Heads Were Dancing to play.
This would be the first time in how long?
2007 was the last time Heads Were Dancing played. It's a bit slightly different, a bit more, slightly different, let's just say slightly different.
Heads were sitting down?
Yeah, no, we're going to stand up and play, we had to think about the whole thing when we relearned the songs from 2007.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've also got Andrew McElroy here, who I play in Empire Blues with. And he's also going to be an honorary member of Heads Were Dancing tonight. Yeah, he's playing the saxophone on the guitar. So, because there's things missing. So, that could be interesting.
Okay. Well, shall we, do you want to do a song?
Yeah.
How many songs have you got prepped?
We've got 2 Heads Were Dancing songs.
And what about others?
We can have as many as you like.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's just have one, and then we'll come back and we'll analyse your childhood.
So can I have all the Heads Were Dancing crew on the stage?
No, I always had a problem playing. Just saying.
Is Carly here?
I adjusted that for her before she got here.
I always had the piss taken out of me. For how many years? 16.
No more. Now we're going to...
They do. What a lovely audience. I'm not going to talk just about this beautiful man here, but thank you for coming. Thank you.
This is the funny thing about, I wanted to perform songs that I wrote, but in Heads Were Dancing, a funny thing used to happen. I'd write a song and Carla would go, I want to sing that. So there's actually not that many that I wrote that I sing. I used to sing the songs that Tom wrote and Mike wrote. So, but this is one of the ones that I wrote and sang from the Jagavo album, which was our second album. We are doing That's Life, Kate. Yeah, she's worried. And we tried to do it acoustically, didn't quite work. So Dr. Groove's come along tonight too. We wheeled Dr. Groove out. So you're going to have to hear Dr. Groove.
Is everybody ready? Ready? Yep. What's that?
Pick it up, don't drop back down. Pick it up, pick your life up. Don't drop down, do it. Do it, do it. Pick your life up. 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 Right now, places to go, places to see, just give it time and see what I mean. Why don't you take time to look around? There's more of this life than you see right now. Places to go, places to see, just give it time and see what I mean. That's life. That's life. That's life. That's life. What's that? That's life. That's life. The go places to see, just give it time to see what I mean. Why don't you take time to look around? There's no one that's life and see like that's life.
Social media and everything, so anyway.
And Joe, I need the backing track louder in the PH. That's all right. We'll sort that out when we come back again.
I can't find anywhere to stream. Huh?
Ryan.
There you go.
I need it loud. I know. Yes.
It's not no set and forget here, is it? So, like, yeah, how that feel to be, playing that heads were dancing, a version thereof, but the closest since 2007.
Frightening trying to remember it since 2007, but
But that's life.
that's it. There's quite a strong message in that song.
Is there?
Yeah, it's written about mental health and about if you're feeling down, like there's more around, and get yourself past that by looking around and finding there's more to life than where you are at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good at the moment.
Yes. It is.
I'll just say something because I just left my beer over there.
Oh, right.
Just nibble on it.
So, talk about myself.
We're going to anyway. London, 1957.
Born in Tottenham.
Oh, you're at Tottenham.
Yeah, Tottenham Hotspur support. I went mad when they came here and played West Ham, of course. I went and bought the scarf and the beanie and everything. And then we lost. But we're having a good year this year.
Well, that's good. What was it like? You were in London or thereabouts, Tottenham, until the age of 11. So I want to hear about these 11 years, because usually when I ask about the formative years, people go, "Remember when I was 15?"
Yeah.
And no, let's just take it back a bit, because it's a very formative time, and then you all left. But before you left, and you got into music really early.
Yeah, well, I was into music, not playing music. I used to listen to a lot of music. One of the good things about, of course, living in the UK was that you could tune to Radio Caroline, and because that was going great guns at that stage, and my parents had left this old radiogram in my room because no one else wanted it, and it was one of those old valve things that you turned on half an hour later at work, and it was great because at night you could listen to any station in Europe. You could, I had them marked on the dial because they were so close together, but Radio Luxembourg was another station we used to listen to. And I used to hear some great music, so I'd tune in and listen to all this.
So also was it the romance of just being in your room, but you can kind of tune in and hear this stuff, but also can Radio Luxembourg and God knows what else is coming.
Romantic, thinking that I'm listening to all these faraway places. You'd hear all these songs, and and then on top of that, there was this pretty good record collection in the place, which also got parked in my room because there was nowhere else to put it. But and
that was not only your parents but your grandparents.
Yeah, my grandparents' collection and my parents' collection, everything went in my room. I used to sit there and just go through all the records and play the next one, see what it was, and then decide whether I liked it or not. But some of them were 78s, and I think there's even an Elvis Presley 78 in there.
They should be worth nothing by now.
Yeah, obviously. By the way, I do own all these records.
You still got it?
I've still got them all. Yeah, so I've got all of these records over at my studio, in the original cabinet they were in when I was in my room in the UK.
Don't tell everybody, it's been live streamed.
But usually you think your parents have got pretty strange musical tastes, and there were some pretty strange records in this collection. There was some of these 50s artists that were in there. I've never heard of them. I've got these records, and I don't think anyone else has ever heard them.
Have you heard them?
I've heard them. Yeah. So but it got me interested, and so really at that stage I was just listening to music. There was a couple of little things happened. One is that we went on holiday to one of those holiday camps. You know that in England everyone went to a holiday camp. You know,
just like in Tonga.
and then you'd you'd come out and there'd be a guy with a bow tie, you know, singing some songs with the band, you know. And I would have been about, I don't know, 7 or 8 or something, and they dragged me out to conduct the band. You know, I know, they give you a baton, you know, and they say you conduct the band, and you hold it up and the band get ready to start. It's all a load of nonsense, well, you know that, but when you're a kid you think it's all real. And then you wave it around and the band plays in the tempo that you're waving this thing around. And very soon I realised if I waved it faster, they got faster. You know. But I remember being fascinated with the drummer. That was what got me. I thought, drums, you know, that'd be good to play drums. So that was the first thing, and I kind of filed that away. Another thing that happened is I met my cousin Steve. He was in London. My cousin Steve was born in Sydney, but he travelled to London, and he was travelling with the Bee Gees. He was a friend of theirs, and they said, "Come to London, Steve." And and I met him just after they released the record, the album, which was produced by Morris Gibb, and and he had a #1. And there was a song called Toast and Marmalade for Tea, which was huge all over the world. I met Steve. I was too young to realise what was going on, I suppose, but I always remember meeting him in London a couple of years before we left to come to Fremantle. But the other thing is, in schools in England, you had music classes. Everybody did music. It wasn't like an option. Everybody did music. And there'd be a music teacher that'd write notes on the board, and you'd play little xylophones and recorders, and it'd sound awful. But some of that must have stuck, because later on I think that little stuff came back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Radio Caroline, so what are you kind of hearing when you're tuning in there?
I probably don't really remember. I just remember the whole 60s thing was so good, you know. The other memory I do have was the Beatles on the London Palladium show. That was on every Sunday night in England. Everybody tuned into this show called the London Palladium show. And the Beatles came on and played She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. And I actually remember that happening. And that was a massive event. That launched their careers, really. That telecast was like, they suddenly trebled their record sales overnight. But that was, you know, at the time, you don't think, oh yeah, there's a band on there doing She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. Later on, you think back and you go, that was a key moment in Beatles history.
In history?
Music history, yes. Yeah. So, that's kind of what happened there. I still wasn't playing any music at that point.
Just into it?
Yes, listening to it. Yeah.
And so what led to the family moving to Australia?
Probably my mother. She goes, you know, let's go for a better life. You know, and I remember really not wanting to come. I was at that age where all my friends were there. Everything I enjoyed was there. But yet 12 years. I was 12 when I landed here, so I left when I was 11. And you don't get any choice when you're 11, so you just have to go.
What, you on the boat?
Yeah, we did the boat.
What was the boat like?
The Achille Lauro. That became famous.
Right.
Yes, 4 weeks, because the Suez Canal was closed through a dispute. So it was a 4-week trip. And it went into the Mediterranean, went around the Mediterranean, then went down the side of Africa, around Cape Town, and then across to Fremantle. 4 weeks. Great fun. I remember it being great. I just loved it being on the ship. And of course, Achille Lauro. One of the stories, I should say, was I remember we hit a big storm around Cape Town, and there was about half the people on there were Italian, and they all grabbed their belongings and ran for the lifeboats. Right, and they all got into the lifeboats. where all the English people just went to the bar, you know, and thought, well, we're just going down with the ship, you know, just get a few drinks in.
I'm going to get shit-faced.
Anyway, we got through that and we got to Fremantle. The next time the Achille Row came to Fremantle, they got a huge fine because the lifeboats didn't work. Yeah, so there you go. And then, of course, at one point, it got hijacked by terrorists, the Achille Row. It's quite a history, that boat. But that's the boat that got me here.
Oh, it sounds like you're lucky it got you here.
Yeah, well, you know, I think we picked a good day to come on the Achille Row. So then I got here.
Yeah, so what was it like landing here, you know, little 12-year-old pommy kid? No more Radio Caroline, no more Radio Luxembourgers,
No.
6IX.
It was really a culture shock. We lived in East Cannington for about 6 months or so. I went to school at Beckenham Primary for a few months. And East Cannington was a country town. Over the back fence was horses in the paddock. You know, it had a little railway station, one that's long gone. But you could get into Perth fairly easy on the train. However, then we moved to Spearwood, and that was a whole new experience because Spearwood had nothing. We lived on a dirt road for the first couple of years, which was the driveway to the old house that was the market garden house. I remember the first weekend we were there, we all walked to the bus stop. And we're all standing at the bus stop. Because you see, in London, you just walk to the bus stop and the bus had come. And you didn't need a timetable because they came every 5 or 6 minutes. You didn't have to worry, you know. And we walked to the bus stop and we were waiting for the bus. And our new next door neighbours pulled up in their car and they said, "Are you waiting for the bus?" And we said, "Yes." And they said, "You missed it."
It's helpful.
Yeah, because it was Saturday, there was only one, it was 8:15 or something, and they said, "We'll give you a lift to Fremantle, but don't miss the bus back at 12:15, because the next one's Monday." So that was our experience. We suddenly lived in the middle of nowhere, and from living in London, which was a culture shock. It was massive.
And so, okay, so East Cannington, when
For a short while.
For a short while, and Spearwood.
You stayed in Spearwood for
so
a while.
where did you sort of settle, would you say? Was there a settlement?
I was in Spearwood for quite a while then. I didn't until I left home. Then I did the laps around. I did.
But being at school and stuff like that, sort of like.
Yeah, I didn't like school. That's I went to Spearwood Primary. I was in the old school, which is down the Rockingham Road. I didn't like that at all. And then I went to Hamilton High School, and I didn't like that either. And as soon as I could leave, I left. I was left at 15. I just went, "I've had enough of this. Don't like it." You know.
So were you a little bit rebellious as a teenager, or was it just simply like, this won't stand?
Not originally. I went through a rebellious stage. I think the upheaval of moving and coming here and everything changes. I think I got a bit of a rebel. I think I became the black sheep of the family. And
What'd you do?
I don't know. I just didn't do anything I was supposed to, I suppose. Just yeah. And
What are you rebelling against?
I don't know.
What have you got?
Who knows? Who knows? You arrive in a strange country at 12 years old, and you're going through early teenage, and what do you do? You know, you talk to you talk to kids now that are 12. They don't know what they're doing either. You know, I say it's the worst age. 12 years old would be the worst age for a child.
Well, you got to get them off the plane first.
But you know, they're not a teenager, but they're not a kid. And you know, where do you fit in? You don't fit in anywhere. But the funny thing was that, you know, my mother wanted me to go to university, and I failed English at school, so they said there's no way you can go to university, and I said, well, there's no point in staying here then, so I left.
Good to see you could work out a kind of a middle ground.
Yeah, but later on, in the timeline, you see that I went back and after I did apprenticeships and become a tradesman, and have I jumped ahead too far? No, okay.
I'll pull you back.
All right. I actually went and studied as an adult student at TAFE while I was playing music.
Well,
I was playing.
Well, you were still a kid, but you were.
No, this is later. I'm in the 20s now.
Right.
But I was just saying, the funny thing was that out of all that, one of my jobs I've had over the years was a technical writer, and I failed English at school. So I think school failed. I don't think it was me. I think they didn't find what was there. Yeah. And I actually love writing stuff.
Yeah.
You know. So there we go.
But in high school, that was when you were kind of hanging out with friends and going to their jams, even though you didn't play. Is that right?
Yes. I had a crew of friends that listened to really interesting music, and I had and friends of theirs, which became my friends, played instruments. So we'd all go, like the weekend, we'd all go and hang out at someone's house, and there'd be someone playing guitar and someone else on the drums. And I still didn't play, but I used to sit there and actually say to them that, you know, why don't you play this? And why don't you play that? And this is from listening to all that music. It was all in my head, you know, and they'd be trying to write a song, and I'd say, oh, you know, why don't you do that instead?
What was that?
Well, that's
What was this?
I didn't actually understand what I was actually telling them, but I could like hum it to them and say, you know, it needs to do that instead, you know, and they go, oh, okay. And then, so I was hanging out with all the musicians, and one day I'm sitting there and there's a bass, and I said, oh, show us how to play something on that. And I think it was something like Sunshine of Your Love, the bass line for that, famous bass line. And I played it and I thought, I can do this. This is easy.
Do you feel like the bass
It's always
spoke to you, like just from across the room, like if you look at it now?
Well, it was funny, just backtracking slightly, I did announce at one point at home that I wanted to be a drummer. And I was going to get a drum kit. And I got told that, no, you're not getting a drum kit. Because you can imagine someone bringing a drum kit home.
You'll stick with that baton.
Yeah, and I was actually practicing drums. I actually had, I made up some pads and things, and I used to like do all the snare exercises and things. But when they said I couldn't play the drums and I played this bass, I went out the following week, because I was now working, and I went and bought my first bass and a small amp, and I just turned up home with it. And they said, what's that? And I said, well, you told me I couldn't get a drum kit, so I bought this instead.
So it was something inherently rhythmic that you wanted to play?
I don't know why I picked the bass. That's just what I picked up first.
Okay.
And I thought, yeah, that's it. And that's really what I play. I play bass.
Okay.
Other instruments I dabble with, but I don't really play them.
Because I don't know what the statistics are, but for bass players, the vast majority enter bass through playing guitar first. They know that to get, not to get to that, but to go across from it.
It's a shame. I can tell they've been playing guitar first. Yeah, so I can tell.
What, they're playing rhythm guitar and bass and just going.
Yeah, you got to. Bass players are born. You're born a bass player. You don't become. You're not a guitarist. You don't move to bass. That's not how it works.
It isn't.
No, it's not. I've upset all the guitarists that play bass in the room. There's just something about it. The best bass players do play other instruments. They're my favourite ones, but usually it's piano or something like that, or they play cello or in the school orchestra. Those kind of instruments. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you are also married to the bass.
That's it.
Yeah. So I mean, also most people don't. For the first song they learn, pull out dun 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 dun.
I probably didn't play it very well, but I did play it. and I still play it. We still sometimes do the song.
Yeah.
In a different key, because I was playing it in the wrong key when I learned it, but that's all right, we play it in the correct key now.
And so, like, your early influences are people who aren't that hard to reach for when you're a bassist, like John Entwistle. And
my musical, there's a bit of a story about the music I really listened to when I was younger. At some point I discovered that I really liked the Beatles. And I just listened to Beatles 24 hours a day, basically. Just put it on, Beatles. I didn't think there was anything else. And when the Beatles weren't around, of course, I bought all the solo albums. I had the Wings albums, John Lennon albums, George Harrison albums, Ringo's albums, everything. I kept getting them. And then one day there was a light bulb moment. You know the light bulb moment? I was at school and someone used to get these pre-recorded cassettes. The ones that were proper releases, they haven't been bootlegged. And he had a couple of these cassettes and he bought them and didn't like them. He says, who would give me 50 cents for these cassettes? Which was quite a lot of money back then. And I said, I'll have them, And the two cassettes was the first Black Sabbath album. Right? And the other one was Fireball by Deep Purple. So I got home and I put on Black Sabbath first. And it started, the first song on that album is called Black Sabbath, funny enough, and it starts off, there's some rain and it just comes in with, who is this that stands before me? They're the first line. And I thought, oh, what's this? And then the power chords come in. And of course, the Black Sabbath had a way with chords. They didn't sound like anybody else. And I really liked this. So I listened to that whole album, which actually was very bluesy. The first album has quite a blues influence in that. And so then I listened to that. Then I listened to Fireball. And of course you got John Lord's Hammond work in that. And I just thought, this is crazy, I just love this stuff. So I immediately realised there was actually other bands than the Beatles, So then I got myself my first job, which was at Woolies at Phoenix Park, which Phoenix Park Shopping Centre was about one shop in those days. There was a record shop, Goodwin's Records. And we used to have an hour for lunch, which was a complete waste of time, because what do you do for an hour? So I used to go and listen to records in the record shop. You go in the booth and go, oh, can I listen to that one? And quite often I'd pick up albums because they had great looking covers. Because who are these bands, And one of the albums I picked up was a band called Tarkus by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It's got the big, robot, it's kind of a big metallic creature on the front, if anyone's ever seen it. But I love the look of this cover. Put this on.
It looks like it's called Tarkus.
It's Tarkus, all right. Yeah.
Tarkus.
And they put Tarkus on, and I bought that album within a minute. And I went home and I listened to it and listened to it and listened to it, and I still listen to it. I still listen to it today.
You talk about it like you've only just heard it, and you still have that same enthusiasm for it, unbridled enthusiasm.
The piece of music, the actual track Tarkus, which is the whole of side one, is just like, it's like modern, it's like classical music done electronically. It's like huge, the arrangement's huge. But the other thing I found, because then of course I went and bought all the other Emerson, Lake and Palmer albums up to that point, the thing about them was that every time you put their album on, it was cross genres. It was like you'd put it on and 1 minute you'd have a piece of jazz, then you'd have a folk song, then there'd be boogie woogie piano, and then there'd be some classical piano, and you could listen to that band and hear every type of music out there. And I think that's where I've got that wide range, range of knowledge about different music. When I go to play with people and they say, oh, this is this kind of feel, I think a lot of it comes from that band.
Yeah. I mean, as a bass player, the whole prog rock thing, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer kind of being a genre unto itself kind of thing. You're kind of just just this splendour of the bass, really, isn't it?
It's just Greg Lake was just an amazing bass player, and of course he was the singer as well, which is of course just my favourite bass players sang, because that's what I do. I sing and play bass, and all my favourite bass players are singing bass players. But the
Sting.
I was talking about Sting earlier to somebody, and I said Sting is uncopyable. You try to do a Sting song and you can't actually figure out how he's done it. He's be the hardest person to copy. To play bass and sing like Sting is almost impossible. But there's others that I've done it. I've actually figured it out. The Jack Bruce's and the Geddy Lee from Rush is another incredible bass player singer. All those guys. A lot of it I can do now. And a guy which nobody really knows, James Drewer, who was the singer-bass player on the first 5 Robin Trower albums. He was an incredible guy. Died very young, not through any fault of his own. He just had a childhood illness that caught up with him. But
So with this getting further into the bass and getting quite
be able to play it.
Be able to play it, and then you listen to stuff where it's basically virtuosos and things. Are you just teaching yourself this, or?
How did I learn? Okay, well, I bought this bass, had no idea really what I was doing. Went and bought this book called Mel Bay How to Play Bass Volume 1. Played things like Row, Row, Row Your Boat, and all those other things you have to play when you're learning how to play something, and where to put your fingers on the neck. And I got to the end of that book. I bought another book, Carol Kay's. It was an interesting book because it was a book called Left-Handed Bass Lines for Piano, written by Carol Kay, who's one of the most famous bass players ever. And you look her up, she's played on almost, thousands of hit records. Yeah, there you go.
And she was the Beach Boys bass player.
She was the Beach Boys bass player on the album, yeah. And so she released a book. It's just all of it is just music and how to play left-handed bass for piano, and I learned some of that. But I still don't think I was particularly good at that point. But that's when I met Nick and Mario, who were in from my first band, you see. So I was down at Premier Pianos, always in the music shop. And Nick goes, and they recognised me from school. We were in different years at school. And he goes, do you play? And I went, yeah, I play bass. I play about 3 notes on it. And he goes, we need a bass player. And I go, yeah, I'm it. So I went and rehearsed with them, and we did all our favourite kind of songs. We did all kinds of stuff. Doobie Brothers, Status Quo, all this stuff. And then that's when we formed Strobe. And I remember the first gig we did was actually the fundraiser for the Cyclone Tracy fundraiser. When Darwin got wiped out, we did a fundraiser gig. I think we knew about 8 songs. And
It doesn't date him at all, does it?
And then at the end of the 8 songs, we just did the 8 songs again, because we needed to play for longer. But I remember pretty much, I think we raised $150, which in 1975, 3, 4, 5.
Now, Cyclone Tracy was on Christmas Day, 1974.
Yeah, that was actually quite a lot of money. And I remember we went along to the Lord Mayor ran a luncheon, and we got invited to hand the cash over. And I think their luncheon raised $80, and we gave them 150 from our. I think it took them by surprise. It is. Yeah. So
It's almost worth having a cyclone.
Shall I tell them the story about the Northern tour? So at this stage, we thought we'd get another guitarist in. Well, actually, we thought we were getting a singer.
Who was singing at this point?
We were all kind of having a go at it.
Good on you,
Yeah,
lads.
I don't think anyone was particularly good at that point. But we got Clayton in the band. Clayton Roberts. People might know Clayton Roberts. He's been around for quite a long time. Anyway, Clayton organised this tour to Northam. There's laughing. They know what I'm going to say. So we go to Northam. I get in the EJ station wagon, and we got an EJ and a few old cars, which weren't that old then. And we drove to Northam, and to find out that Clayton really hadn't organised anything. We were playing at the pub for some measly amount of money, with no accommodation, no beer, no food.
Well, you had to get used to the music industry early, didn't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we learned pretty quick. Anyway, we played the gig and we drunk heaps of beer. I remember that. And which you're not supposed to do. You've got to drive after. And then we had like all the cartons of beer stacked in the back of the EJ wagon. And we drove down the road and into a paddock and decided we all camp there for the night. And we're kicking them around, burning beer cartons and doing stupid things. And anyway, we eventually fell asleep. And when we woke up in the morning, we'd actually driven into a cemetery. So
You raised the dead.
yeah, that was our first trip to Northern. But what happened to that band was...
Well, the rest of them was their last.
Yeah. What happened to that?
Too soon?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We actually met a guy through Nick's sister called Brian. What was his surname? Foster, yeah.
Mills and Wares.
He worked at Mills and Wares. There you go, just down the road here. He was a singer from a band, and he didn't have a band, but he knew the music business. Well, he told us he knew the music business. And he kind of did. He says he came and listened to a rehearsal and must have thought, what a rabble. But he said he could see some potential in the band, and he says, listen, if you change the repertoire a bit, we could get a lot of gigs. So the band became this, it was like a cabaret band that played rock as well as cabaret. But we used to do everything from like waltzes to Pride of Errands.
Is this Palace?
Yeah, this is Palace. It's formed in the Palace now.
We're only up to the second band.
Yeah,
It's-
we're out
It's
there.
possibly late 1975.
So I'm at... we've got forward and back a little bit. But I'm at home listening to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, loving it. Yeah, and we're playing, Green Grass at home. And but
Did you have those velour ties?
yes, we all had the same coloured shirt, and and you had a bow tie. But I'll tell you what, it did teach me that.
And sorry, you said play tie yellow ribbon, right?
Tie
Yeah, and those brown velour ties and that song. I feel like I'm 9.
Anyway, but of course what it did was it taught me another whole lot of music, because I could play all these songs, and I could play all these songs for people that danced, did ballroom dancing, because I knew what you had to play for that. So that's another whole education, because some people don't know how to play that stuff.
Can you play tie yellow ribbon now?
No, I can't.
You just said you could play it for people.
Yeah. But actually, I should say that at this stage, I'm really pretty much playing one note on the bass most of the time, thinking, how do you play this stuff? And but I learned by watching other people. Whenever I wasn't playing or I had a night off, I'd go and watch someone else play, and I'd watch other bass players. And I'd look at what they were doing. I'd go, oh, what's that they're doing there? And then I'd go,
Were you reading music, or do you read music?
back then I could read it reasonably well. I can't now. I've kind of really out of practice.
It's just...
Yeah, it's just I don't use it enough. But I do read chord charts. What I usually do is I write out a chart with all the chords on it, and then if there's a bass part I have to know, I'll write notes in for that bit, so it reminds me what I've got to do when I get there. But I can't read it fast. I can't read across the page.
Every good boy deserves...
Yeah, I actually still remember that. Good boys do fine
FAC.
always.
Yeah.
All cows eat grass.
Sorry.
It depends if you're on the treble or bass clef. There we go.
Do you want to play some songs?
Yeah, let's play another Heads Were Dancing song.
Yeah. Shall I refresh your drink, Alan?
Yeah. No, this is whiskey.
Would you like another one?
Yeah, this is Jameson.
Jameson?
Well, we'll do a Heads Were Dancing. I'll do one with Andrew. I didn't hear the back of What Bob didn't tell you, this is only part one. Part two continues next week. This is a song that I wrote about the fact that you listen to radio. You used to put the radio on and hear the same crappy songs every day. And I used to drive to work and put the radio on and it'd be the same song at the same time every day. So I wrote a song about it called Greatest Hits. And ironically, the end of this song originally had saxophone playing Baker Street. And I asked Jerry Rafferty, I actually wrote to the publisher saying, can I use the sax line from Baker Street on this song? Yeah. And after about 5 or 6 months of getting no replies, I got a reply and it said no. So we changed the end. And what I did at the end, and you'll hear it, because it's on the machine, I thought, what can I put there? And I thought, well, let's just put some radio stations on the end. So I put a cassette in, and I tuned the tuner between stations trying to get talking. And it took me all of 15 minutes to get the whole thing together, which basically says, greatest hits, let's have more of those, and, more requests and all that kind of crap. And Carla's giving me the hurry up. So here we go. Hang on, we need the other stuff. Give me 2 seconds. There it is.
You're wasting your time.
I couldn't believe what I had been saying. Phone us up, tell us what you want to hear. Your favorite greatest hits from the past years. Your favorite greatest hits from the past years. Mr. Barry Manilow, that really grooves. Elvis isn't dead, he just no longer moves. Energy going up, my door's only sick. Energy over a spotlight, sorry. Your favorite greatest hits from the past years. How do you hear something new when we live in the past? Greatest hits from the past. They tell us what they think we want to hear. How do you choose from this greatest hits? 42. Placing in a very fancy challenge of public view.
Wasting your time.
Could be I'm a winner, the first to try we'll see. New things are only for a day or two, then become greatest hits to me. Then become greatest hits to you and me. How do you hear something new when they live in the past? Greatest hits from the past. They tell us what they think we want to hear. But how do you choose from this greatest hits?
You're wasting your time. What are you doing now? You're wasting your time.
Well, think back to the past when the past was something new. If they didn't play me songs with good they had listened to, they'd listen to the same old songs coming out their radio, turning mum and dad. In the 60s, they couldn't wait to play the latest disc. Everyone was wondering what in the world would come out next. Now you hear the same old songs on the hour, every hour, no repeat. Don't make me laugh, no repeat. You listen to the radio the other day. I could not believe what I heard them say. Call us up, tell us what you want to hear. Your favorite greatest hits from the past years. Your favorite greatest hits from the past years. Your favorite greatest hits from the past years.
Wasting your time. You're wasting your time.
Slightly rusty, but as I said, it's been 2007 since we played those songs. Yeah, I'm gonna do something with Andrew, completely different now. And I mean, do you want to do whatever I write? Let's do mine. All right.
I should say this is our first album, which is also a number of years ago.
It is, as you'll hear in the history, if we get that far.
That'll be next week.
Yeah, this band actually, the band I'm in with Andrew, overlapped that band by a number of years. And so I was doing the dance thing and doing blues with Andrew. And it was good. I like lots of variation.
Back to the dark side.
Back to the dark side.
And we usually do this with Frank. And
Yeah.
Frank counts us in.
It's a double 4 count.
I know.
Rightio. So, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I tell you what I think, you don't like my views. Well, I say it's black, and you say it's blue. My head, it really hurts, you get inside my brain. With all of your thoughts about thinking just the same. Maybe it's true, but maybe it's a lie. But tell me what I'll do, I'll give it a try. My views, your views, our views. I moved to a new town to try to get away. But you came round to visit every single day. It doesn't really matter what I think or do. Well, I can't stop arguing with you. Maybe it's true, but maybe it's a lie. But tell me what I'll do, I'll give it a try. My views, your views, our views. I tell you what I think, you don't like my views. Well, I say it's black, and you say it's blue. I don't really care if I'm politically correct. All you gotta do is give me some respect. Maybe it's true, but maybe it's a lie. But tell me what I'll do, I'll give it a try. Maybe it's true, but maybe it's a lie. But tell me what I'll do, I'll give it a try. My views, your views, our views. Is Bob back?
We did do two songs. What?
You did.